Okay, I think it's all working. This is the moment where you hope your Wi-Fi doesn't go down. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining us. My name is Carolyn Ray, and this is a session that we're hosting on shifting from crisis to opportunity. Those of you that have joined us on Facebook, if you want to let us know where you're calling in from or where you are at, that would be great so we can get a sense of who's listening. And we're also on Zoom, as you can see. So um, for those of you that might be new to JourneyWoman, we are the world's first women's travel magazine and community established in 1994 by Evelyn Hannon, who we call the original or the OG JourneyWoman. Our ethos is to embrace curiosity as our compass, and that's what we're going to do today by learning actually from Natalie Stratton, who is a life coach and mentor. A few weeks ago, when this pandemic started, I reached out to our community and I asked people how JourneyWoman could be of service to them in this time. And I also asked if there were people in the community who wanted to provide services to people and help and empower other women. And Natalie was actually one of the first people that responded to my note with an offer, a very generous offer to do this session. And she and I have been talking about this session now for several weeks, kind of waiting for the right time to do it. And I feel like this week in particular is a time when we're starting to see a bit of a shift happen. And I really felt it on our community call last week. We do virtual community calls every Friday. And it really felt like people were kind of moving forward a little bit and looking for looking for signs of hope and inspiration. So I'm really happy to have Natalie with us because I think this is the perfect time to have this discussion about shifting forward. And also the most important part, I think, is giving us some tools that we can use in our everyday lives and build in rituals to our days, especially as we're building new rituals and everything that we do. I'm still figuring out what my day looks like. So it's a good time to embrace new thinking and new ideas. Natalie also works with one of our tour partners, Babes in Bali, Kathy Gottfried, and I know I think everyone's still thinking about possibly hoping, wishing, praying there might be a retreat happening in the fall in Bali. And I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about that too, Natalie, because I know you're looking forward to going to Bali, and it's really such a magical place. I haven't been, but definitely hoping to get there soon. So just by way of introduction, Natalie, tell us a little bit about how you got started in coaching and maybe how has this experience of COVID-19 been for you over the last few weeks? What's it felt like for
Yeah,
you?
no, it's been a really fascinating, I like to think of it as a roller coaster because as I spy on myself, and that's a term I use a lot in my retreat work and my coaching work, it's the art of spying on yourself and asking yourself better questions ultimately. But just,
Mm.
I feel like this new normal has arrived for me. It's been, a month and a half here in Alberta, where I live, and we just got news the other day that things will be reopening. Our Premier Kenny talked about that. So it felt like that little breath of hope came in from, the uncertain, because that's really what we're dealing with is uncertainty.
Right.
And so for me, not a lot has shifted as far as I work from home, self-employed. So it wasn't a big upheaval from a real security place, but it was definitely an upheaval from a what does this all mean place. And
Yeah.
I think everybody is asking that question, what does this mean? And ultimately, what does this mean for yourself? Because we live from our own reality, my own perception. We all have our
Mhm.
own take on things. And so I'm observing just because of my background. I've actually I tell this funny story. I tell people that I have a PhD in human behavior because I spent 7 years with, he created these retreats. He was a counselor. His name's Terry Lake. He's my original mentor. And I spent 7 years doing these retreats with him and then doing them on my own as well. They're experiential learning retreats. And that's actually how I had the honor of meeting Kathy Gottfried of Babes in Valley. And that's how the conversation grew with taking basically the show on the road. So taking these experiential processes that I love to bring women together and do, because it shows your blind spots. Basically, it shows you maybe what you're pretending not to know, things like that. It was a game changer for me when I was 32. I was in a really, just to give you a little background, if I may, I was in a really unhappy marriage. I think I made him unhappy. He made me unhappy on many levels. We had 3 children together. I was really lost. I couldn't even make a decision on which peanut butter to buy because I think I was in such a controlling environment. And so I'd lost a real sense of myself. So I remember I was at the park pushing, I think, one of my kids. I got 3 kids. And a gentleman, a neighbor, he said, "Hey, we're doing this retreat." And he barely came out of his mouth. And I said, "Sign me up." It's like I knew something had to change. I was that desperate, like that desperate. And I literally went to this weekend retreat. It was a game changer for me. It was like, I really realized, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I called it the victim crown. I was such a victim of my life and really recognized how I wasn't taking responsibility for where I was. I was just wishing, waiting, hoping things would change. So, I was postpartum. I had some depression, didn't know it. I was gritty. I grew up in northern Alberta, kind of a redneck girl. You just push through. You just, I got to make this work. I don't know what's wrong, but I got to make this work. And I never really took the time to slow down enough to ask myself some really good questions or to see myself.
Yeah.
And that's what this weekend did for me. So that was the beginning of the rest of my life. Basically, my marriage dissolved. I moved back to my mom and dad's. I lived in their basement. It wasn't exactly a highlight in my life, but it was because I had this new sense of I could reinvent myself. So that's where my coaching began. That's where my quest to really find myself and figure out what the truth is out there. So fast forward, I'm a huge fan of personal development. Obviously, I listen to all kinds of different people out there. I love Abraham Hicks, the law of attractions. Really, I think huge right now, actually, and where we're at, because what you are emitting, what you're thinking, is what you're going to attract. So we need to really up level the good thoughts in our head, because if you're not the gatekeeper of your mind, somebody else will be.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm passionate about. So when I saw your email, I thought, I think I have a tool. I have a model that made all the difference for me back when I was 32. That was 20 something years ago. I'm 49, just kidding. No, I'm really excited to share that. I guess I could go on a little bit more, but I will.
Well, let me get you into that zone,
Okay.
and I just want to mention that coach, having gone through coach training myself, I know how much work it is, and all these tools that we have. It's important to use them and to know how they work. So I think one of the amazing things about coaching is there is so much practice there and learnings. And once you have a few of these tools, you can really kind of shift your focus on so many things. And I absolutely loved doing the training, and like you, it helped me make some really positive shifts in my life. One of which was leaving my job and becoming an entrepreneur. So
Cool.
Here we are. Anyways, I'm gonna give you the screen and let you do your thing for a few minutes, and then as we go through this, if there are questions on either Facebook or Zoom, please put them up, and we'll do our best to moderate those questions while Natalie's doing this.
Yeah, I would love that. Oh, I'm just reading Twilight says the Four Agreements. Love it. Yeah, that's a great book with them. Stepping stone, thank you. I'm gonna have to check those out. Okay, guys, so I'm gonna share my screen because I'm gonna share something called the Cartman's Triangle, or the drama triangle. Put in the comment box if you've heard of this model or learned this, because this was really at 32 years old, no clue who I was. When I got a handle on this, it changed the trajectory of, of my choices. Because I really got to see who I was on this triangle. So how it works is, you can see it's an inverted triangle. The victim is in the one down position. Then you have the persecutor and the rescuer. So these I want to say, you're going to be on this triangle the rest of your life. You're going to be on and off this triangle the rest of your life. I have to remember when I'm exiting the triangle and I am conscious that I was on it and I got off it, that this is something that is just called being human. So it's not something you can conquer or overcome. It's just something that I really want you to be aware of. So how it works is, the victim, they're really hard on themselves. They disparage themselves. They feel helpless and hopeless, reject, complain, and manipulate. And I'm not sure if there's a few people in your circle of influence right now that, you've maybe had some conversations with and you've felt that they're in this place, or you've been there too. I can't do it on my own, poor me. They avoid responsibility. They feel in fear. So the victim has that poor me mentality. They're that yeah but people. Have you ever? And I think they're challenging to work with as a coach, because they keep throwing, you give a suggestion, yeah but, they give another suggestion, yeah but, and so you just keep collapsing instead of expanding. Then there's the persecutor. Now they're the person that has to be right. They know best. They really kind of disparage other people's worth. They criticize. They're judgmental. They can be hurtful, punish, blame. Kind of, it's all your fault. You can't do anything right. Persecutors have a kind of an overinflated ego. They want to feel superior. They're the right person. And then we have the rescuer. Their value comes from helping. They're often the martyrs, and they tend to give that air or that feeling of, you can't quite look after yourself, so let me. They'll take care of people without asking. Let me help you. You can't do it on your own. It's helpful and they often will feel superior as well. And so the victim really does need the rescue and needs the persecutor in order to stay in that one down, because eventually the victim will start to feel angry that they're stuck in that place, and then they'll come up and they'll persecute. So I think the best thing I can do is read you a little example so that you can kind of now put this model into play. Okay, here we go. So dad comes home from work to find mom coming down hard on Junior with clean up your room or else threats. He immediately comes to the rescue. Mom, he might say, give the boy a break. Any one of several possibilities might occur next. Perhaps mom, feeling victimized by dad, turns on him, automatically moving him into a victim position. Or they might do a few quick trips around the triangle with Junior on the sidelines. Or maybe Junior joins dad in a persecutory, let's gang up on mom approach, and they could play it from that angle. Or Junior could turncoat on dad, rescuing mom with, mind your own business, dad, I don't need your help. And so it goes with endless variations, perhaps, but nonetheless, round and around the triangle they go. So oftentimes in my retreats, because I will weave this model in a weekend destination retreat that I'll do, and it's really neat because by the end, most women will have dipped on and off of this triangle, and hopefully we'll see it. That's my hope, that you walk away today with an understanding of, okay, well, where do I show up? So I'm going to ask you all a question. Where do you start? I know for me, I start as the rescuer. We all have a starting gate position that we learn from childhood. So I had a really rescuey mom. So I tend to rescue. I tend to want to come in and help. and my dad was more persecutory. So I can also do that. Being a single mom of 3 kids, I could come down hard on my kids. I would come in from that angle. So just kind of ask yourself, which one do you feel that you tend to come in as? And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop sharing here and see if I can I got to escape. And yeah, just so that I can see any comments here too as well. So if any questions, let me know. So how do you get on the triangle? Next best question. Well, usually it's unmet, unrealistic expectations can get you on there, okay? Or denied feelings, or when you avoid responsibility. So oftentimes, a great example of getting on the triangle. So in that example that I read, the dad comes home, the mom's obviously stressed. There's not harmony going on with their son. And she senses the husband is not on her team. So she became the persecutor. It's like, what do what did she say? Clean up your room or else. And then he immediately comes to the rescuer. And, then she might turn on the dad. So when you think about that, we can actually do this in our own mind. So let me give you a real life example of mine. So I would go into my daughter's bedroom. This is when she was a teenager. She's 27 now, and her room would be a mess. And I'd probably asked her several times, clean up your room, clean up your room, clean up your room. I go in her room and it's a disaster. So how do you get on the triangle? Unmet, unrealistic expectations. So I'm expecting a 15-year-old to have a really clean room. Not really realistic. However, I'm single mom in it. I'm, putting putting food on the table. I'm stressed, maybe got some bad news that day in my business or whatever. So I'm feeling, angry about things. And she's my target. So I walk into her room and I'm triggered because I see the disaster and I take it out on her. I start coming down on her. She immediately goes to the victim. But what do you mean, Mom? I'm trying to clean it. What are you so mad about? Why do you keep taking it out on me? And then I start to realize, oh my, I am really not being very nice. And so I go to rescue. So I'm like, okay, well, let me just help you clean it up. So now I start helping her clean up her responsibility to make myself feel better, right? Because I just come down really hard on her. So now I got to make that right. And then at the end of it, I walk out of her room and I feel like a victim because I'm not holding her able to clean her room. So now I'm in the victim. So see how you can just boom, boom, boom down around this triangle. And you can do this in your own thoughts as well. You don't need other people to be on this triangle. I can play this game in my own mind. But for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through that. How do you get off of the triangle? Next best question. Well, you take 100% responsibility for your results. So you own that, okay, I am on the triangle. I just came down really hard on you, Whitney. I own that. I'm sorry for that. I'm really had a tough day at work, and you just happened to be the person that I took it out on. I'm going to work on that. Can't guarantee it won't happen again, but I'm owning it. So when you own your results, that's the ticket, because now you have control again. You're back taking responsibility. And the other key is, and this is a little subtle thing that I want to share with you guys, is that you have to be able to sit in guilt to stay off the triangle. So think about that for a minute. I have to sit in guilt. So let's say I come out of my daughter's bedroom. I've just was really mean, really unkind, yelling, doing that kind of thing. And I come out and I have to be able to sit in that uncomfortable feeling before I go and take that responsibility. Because when you sit in the guilt, you're able to see what's really going on for you. But when you try to avoid the guilt, that's when you stay on the triangle. Okay, you'll go back to rescuer. So just a little nuance there. Okay, I think any questions? I hope I explained that. Like I said, I usually take a weekend to do this, so I'm giving you a really quick little trip around the triangle, how you get on, how you get off. So Carolyn, if you want to jump back in. Do you need me to unshare my screen or to give you back hosting?
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to figure out my own buttons.
You're doing awesome.
It's always fun. I really love what you said about owning it. And, I think that's a very hard thing sometimes for people to admit because, as you say, so much of, we always want to find others to blame. What are some ways you can do that? Is it like some practical things you can do to help you kind of embrace your own accountability?
Okay. I think the number one tool that I've used is reflection. So for me at night, when my head hits the pillow, it's like, did I win my day? Was I kind? Did I show love? And I just envision, because we think there's only two ways that our mind responds. Our mind responds to words and pictures. So the key is to really reflect on, so here's a question. Maybe I'll make it just real simple for you, which usually after I process, what am I pretending not to know? And feelings are my signpost. So when I'm feeling off or I'm feeling not congruent, inauthentic, sad, angry, small, that's my cue to ask, what am I pretending not to know? And so maybe I'm not taking responsibility. I'm not being really honest with myself around a relationship, because all our problems are relationship problems. So maybe I'm not taking responsibility for how I'm showing up in a relationship, and I feel guilty about it. And I don't feel congruent, like I'm not speaking my truth. I think the biggest thing is women, just because of our culture, it's a real challenge for us to speak our truth, because if we do, we might be shunned, we might be rejected, we might not be loved. We risk being fully seen. And so I think it's really boils down to reflecting, asking yourself the question, what am I pretending not to own? Or no, what am I pretending not to know? And then that will really support taking 100% ownership for your results. That makes sense?
Yeah, and the other thing I was thinking about that I've found helpful is journaling, and not just journaling, but a few years ago I embraced one of Julia Cameron's techniques, which is called morning pages, where you get up in the morning and you just write about 3 pages of whatever is in your head, and you're never going to look at it again. You're never going to show it to anybody. It's just completely like, just put it out there. And so I have a Mead notebook next to my bed, and I get up in the mornings and just whatever is in my brain before you even have a coffee or anything else. And it's kind of a cleansing. And I imagine it's similar to meditation, where you're kind of getting things out of your head, and it brings a certain level of self-awareness to things. And what I do is go back and look for, am I hung up on the same things? Am I repeating over and over things in my brain that, are bothering me? Why can't I get over it? Why can't I get past it? Nice. Why am I stuck on this one thing? And so it's just like turning it around a little bit, and acknowledging, as you say, that this is something you need to get past.
Yeah. So you're concreting what's floating around in between here. You're putting it on paper.
Yeah. And I think for me, I'm much better at writing than verbalizing.
Okay.
Obviously, as we can see exhibited here. But, so I find that a useful ritual for me. So I'm wondering, for people who maybe don't like to write, are there other rituals you can build into your day just to bring self-awareness to yourself?
Yeah. Well, don't turn your cell phone on first thing in the morning. That's key. Don't take it to bed. Don't take your laptop to bed. I think that's really important. I think ask yourself, how much time do I really spend with myself? I think that's actually, my observation is, especially in the work I do, um, is people are addicted to busy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so all of a sudden, the pause button's been hit globally, and we're all like, what? Like, who am I? So I imagine some people are really, that are, it'll catapult them into some really deeper work, which is wonderful.
Yep.
Yeah. So um, I know you're looking for tips. So journaling, let me think. What do I do? Meditation is one of my favorite things now. It never used to be because I was addicted to busy. Uh, uh, Earthing, we talked about that just before we went live. So bare feet on grass is really awesome for those of you that can do that, or you'll have that to look forward to because we're around a lot of electromagnetic. We're in the ethers a lot now that we're online. Our phones are like our another appendage. So I think it's important to disconnect from all the electromagnetic, and then bare going barefoot on grass on the earth is recalibrates your rebalances the electromagnetic in your body. That's a really powerful, I think,
I
natural
love
method. Yeah.
I love that. What about setting your intentions? And I think we spoke at one point about angel cards and things like that. Are those tools you would suggest for people?
Oh, yes. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, this is my dad's deck. He passed away 6 years ago, a couple days ago. And really cool story I want to share with you. So I gave him this deck. He got diagnosed with cancer and lung cancer. He was a welder, really hardworking guy. He died at 79, 3 months away from his 80th birthday. He was a real happy go-getter guy. And I remember the morning he passed because I'd spent 2 weeks with him at the hospital between me and my two brothers. He was never alone.
Oh, deep breath. You're good. You're good.
Thanks. So these are super amazing, especially if you're struggling. I highly recommend finding a deck somewhere, ordering a deck, because these really bring me back to truth. So the morning he passed, I said to him, "What, what, what do you want me to know?" Because my dad would want me to know what it's like over there. And so I pulled the card. There's nothing to fear. It's not here.
Mhm.
He actually pulled. I pulled this on his anniversary a couple of days ago, his 6 year anniversary, and it's joy. I did it for my family. And joy is the highest vibration, by the way, you guys. Abraham Hicks talks about joy and getting into that really high energy of joy. So, anyways, the quick story. After about 2 weeks after I pulled that card, kind of just got on with just the reality of planning his funeral and all of that, and going through the motions, and I started seeing 444. And if anybody's acquainted with angel numbers, it took me a while. I'm a little slow in the uptake, but I started seeing it all the time. Like it was just coming at all different directions, mostly in my car. And I was driving my niece to the airport, and I said, "Nikki, Google what 444 means. There's something coming at me. There's a message, and it means there's nothing to fear." So my
Uh,
dad sends me 444 all the time. So, anyways, I just wanted to share that. That's, how we're all connected, and everything really does have meaning if you choose to see it. And the meaning in this time, I think, this time of COVID, what's the gift? I guess that's the question. What's the gift for you? And that's that's part of the journey, is finding the gift, the meaning for you, instead of seeing it as, a bad thing and judging it as bad. What does this mean for you? And what's the greatest gift? And I mean, Carolyn, what's been the greatest gift for you? Would you say?
Well, I know this might sound pithy, uh, given that I'm doing this right now, but I would say the gift has been getting to know this JourneyWoman community, and I don't think I would have had the same opportunity to do that.
Mm,
And for us all to spend time together, I feel like between our travel group and our website and our Zoom calls and all our sessions, to know people on a very personal level is quite a lovely gift, I think. So
yeah.
it doesn't feel, JourneyWoman doesn't feel digital to me. It feels very human to me. So I'm very grateful for that.
Well, I'm grateful for you for bringing us together and creating it, because I would never, if you hadn't sent me that email, we would not be in this moment. And I wouldn't be seeing all these beautiful names coming down. And in fact, there's a few questions I don't want to let go either while I'm here. But
Sure, sure.
yeah,
I have
gratitude.
one other sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Did you?
Go ahead.
Um, so you've mentioned a few authors and books that you've relied on. Are there any that you would suggest to folks here that they tap into? So you started with the four agreements, but even the cards or other other readings or other tools or
Yeah, yeah. So I'm a student. One of my mentors is Mark Wolin. He does family constellation work. If you're not familiar with family constellation work, it's looking at your ancestry back here, it's, I call it unpinching where love got pinched off. So that's a powerful book, because oftentimes what we can't see is what's inhibiting us, what's getting in our way. So Mark Wolin, it didn't start with you. I'll put some things in the comments
okay, that's
with
great.
that for sure. That's a brilliant book. That was a really powerful book in my personal journey. The Four Agreements, love that book, for sure. I'm sure if anybody else has some books that you think are powerful, share them. Yeah, I'm just looking at my library. I just listened to Jim Rohn. He was my first mentor way back when. And he says the first thing you want to check with someone is what's their library look like. And I have a whole bookshelf here. I've actually stopped reading because I was getting addicted to it. So I've kind of stepped back a little bit from doing too much. Brene Brown's work is fabulous. I find value in hers. Um, but just we all have our best answers. I remember, because of, like I said, being in my 20s and in a relationship where I didn't feel wasn't in my power. I always looked outside of myself to find my answer. I didn't have the confidence in myself to really trust my own answer.
Mhm.
So that was the beginning of just becoming just like, boom, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna learn from all different people. And I'm grateful for that. But then there came a point where it's like, enough. It's here. I have it.
Yeah,
And just trusting it and
yeah.
just really being in the moment. And
Funny, as women, sometimes we don't want to admit that, and that we have power and that we're strong. For some
absolutely, yeah.
reason, it's hard.
Yeah, I remember reading a quite, when do you feel most beautiful? I mean, create a beautiful life. That's the name of my company. And and I thought about, think about that question, ladies and gentlemen. When do you feel most handsome? When do you feel most beautiful? And create more of that, whatever that is. For me, it's when all my three kids are around and I'm watching them interact, and that just brings me there's nothing like that really for me. So that's one moment when I feel most beautiful. So that's another thing you want to ask in this time is, you know, how do I create more of what makes me feel really amazing within the boundaries of what we have, right? When you think about, Viktor Frankel in concentration camps, he realized they couldn't take his dignity. They
Hmm.
could take everything else, but they couldn't. He had full power over that, and I think that's really important. Is what makes you feel joy and beautiful. And maybe it's doing a kind act. Speaking of, the journaling and the meditating, maybe it's just about reminding your best friend how beautiful she is, or sending her a card. I mean, I got a beautiful card from a good girlfriend that just lit me up one day in the mail. Like, we don't do that anymore. It was like, I loved it. She handmade it. It just, I could feel it, just, raised my vibration. And so I'm really grateful for that. So things like that. What can you do to make this world a better place? How can I serve this world and help heal it? Big questions like that. And it'll pull out your bigness. Because
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes, one of the questions I'll ask myself is, am I going small? Or what does big look like for me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Amazing. Amazing. So I see we have a question here. It's just going back to the beginning. Does your birth order have any impact on which of the roles you're most likely to play?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually
Like a
don't know
middle
the
child
answer.
question to me.
Yeah, I don't know the answer. I'm so sorry, Diane. Beautiful question. Love to have conversation with you. I'll tell you what birth order, though, the constellation book, Mark Wolins will speak to that. So if that's something that resonates for you. Um, I'm guessing though, it probably does. When I look at my own three kids, so my daughter has a uber sense of responsibility because being a single mom, and then I have two boys. So I can see her, that would affect where her starting gate position is on the triangle, for
Mhm.
sure. So yeah, if I was to process that, and that would be my best guess. I hope that answers it.
Is the triangle different for men than women, or does
No,
it matter? No.
no, it's all human.
Yeah. That's good. That's good to hear.
And
Are
then
there any other questions, either on Zoom or on Facebook? If so, let us know and Natalie will answer them.
I see Anne just asking, jumping ahead, but how do we get out of the triangle? Taking
Yeah.
100% responsibility for everything. So if I back out of my vehicle or my driveway and I don't look properly and I hit something, or somebody hits me, pardon me, even though it's their fault, let's say, yeah, let's say I stop and they still hit me. If I can get out and get really mad and blame them and be all like, it's your fault, you weren't looking, or I can go, I attracted this. So here's a faith-based position. Here's a little tool. Put it up your sleeve. I attract that which occurs. So it's a faith-based. You can take it or leave it. I'm not telling you how to do life. I'm just saying I attract that which occurs. And that was a really game changer
Mhm.
for me as well, to stay off the triangle. It's
Yeah.
like, then I get to sit back and go, well, interesting. Maybe this happened because I could have gotten an accident, or, it was stopping me, or, setting me up for the next thing that's supposed to come to me. Is it inconvenient? Yeah, it feels a little inconvenient. Did I meet a new person? Hey, what's your name? Here's my driver's license. So it's all it's all how you look at it. But I attract that which occurs is a really powerful way to stay off and get off.
Yeah. Yeah. And something that's always helped me too, is just having like, when I reflect, you talked about being reflective and looking, it's almost like looking backwards a little bit and realizing that everything that's happened to you has happened for a reason, and has led you to this place. And then also it gives you faith going forward that whatever is happening for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so it's, for me, that's always been, even though things can get crazy and out of control, just a couple deep breaths um, and try and put it all in perspective too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why community is so profoundly important,
Yeah.
and what you and Tom are doing and bringing us together. And I mean, I was on the one Friday morning call, and really connected with Rebecca. I just really felt her as a result. And um, you're right. It's like, what a gift this has been. It has slowed us all down to really be together and care. I think our
Yeah.
caring level has gone way up
Yeah.
versus just work, survival.
Yes.
We're like, I think about what it must have been like to grow up in the 50s, the Cleaver days. where you brought the new neighbor a casserole dish, you know, and welcomed them to the neighborhood. You know, we don't make time for that anymore. You know, we do in different ways. Let me, you know, I'm kind of Pollyannaing it here, but yeah, I think it's important that to
Well,
slow
this is
down.
about optimism. I see another question here from Gloria. She says, I feel victimized by my grown children who are critical of me. How do I get off the triangle? Any
Mm.
thoughts for her?
Well, she just did by owning that she feels victimized. So the question is then, how do I not be victimized? What's the work I need to do? Not because I get it. I've got two boys still at home, my 25-year-old and 22-year-old, and I'm wondering when are they going to move out? Um,
Hope they know that that's the goal.
they do. I have a box started for them and
FYI,
everything. Yeah,
here
I
live
can.
on Facebook.
um, so, Gloria, I would say that the just yeah, get familiar with this model, the Cartman's Triangle. Go and research it. I will definitely send resources on the page, you guys. Um, get to know what is your triggers, and once you understand, I want to give you an example, Gloria. I'm going to make this real for you. So when my boys don't put their dishes away or don't clean up or they're loud, they'll wake me up at night because one's a music producer and so he's as an artist, so he's got weird hours. And I have to really check myself when I want to just persecute, when I want to just come downstairs and rip them a new one. And I know that in the past I used to do that. I parented like that for a lot of years because I was so angry. So I had to look at that and do my work around the anger I carried. And once I realized, okay, I have to teach people how to treat me. And so I have to look for an opportunity for when he's open, because our grown children don't hear us. Us moms, they just, me, me, me. That's mostly what they hear. So I have to wait for the right time to approach them. And then that's when I share, you know, how do we make this work? This is what's not working for me. You're waking me up at night. I appreciate you want to make music. What can I do? What can we do to find a win-win? So when I approach it at that level and not look down at him from a persecutor, like you're always waking me up and I'm getting really upset about it and blah, 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 and putting him down, when I can come at it from my off the triangle position, then I get better results at the end of the day. Because that's the scorecard. It's, you know, so when Wyatt comes upstairs and says, "Hey, Mom, is there anything I can do for you today?" I know I'm on the right track.
Ah,
But when he's avoiding
I hope
me,
my daughter's listening to this.
yeah, there's a whole nother conversation. We should all powwow how to get our 20 something children, adults,
Yeah.
going in the right direction. If
Yeah.
anyone has any ideas, I'm all ears too.
Well, listen, Natalie, this has been great. Thank you so much. And I think I see a lot of nice feedback coming in. You are awesome, Natalie. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, thanks, Anne.
There might be some question of what does this all have to do with travel? And you know, travel is all about self-discovery and exploring new areas of yourself. And I think in this time, sessions like this and experiences like this are about helping you prepare for what's to come. And that's what we want to do through these is help empower you and help strengthen you through this. And which is why we have our community calls every Friday, which you're welcome to join 10 a.m. Eastern. And you can sign up for those. They're on Zoom and they're private and they're confidential. And Natalie's usually on them, so she can probably offer some more advice. Yeah. We have 2 more live sessions this week. One is on Thursday, Cooking with Tuscany, or Cook in Tuscany, I should say. We're going to make Italian pasta live from Italy and also get a little bit of an update on what's happening in Italy. And then on Friday, we have a very special session for Mother's Day called Portraits of Motherhood. lessons from Kenya with Linda from Women's Journey to Kenya, and she and I are going to talk about Kenya because it's a place that I love as well, and talk about motherhood and what we can learn from the mamas in Kenya. So hope you'll all join us. And again, thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon, and thank you, Natalie. That was lovely.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, and thank you, everybody. Take care.
Bye. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.